For more than a decade, the Animal Welfare Committee has been advocating for changes to legislation governing the routine castration and tail docking of lambs. This follows ongoing concerns about the pain associated with the conventional rubber ring method. Progress has been limited, largely due to a lack of practical alternative options. While less widely adopted methods such as short scrotum castration and the use of a hot iron or Burdizzo are available, two newer solutions have emerged, which are known to reduce pain. Today we are at SRUC's Easter Howgate farm to demonstrate the use of Numnuts and ClipFitter in 4-week-old lambs.
So Rachel, we've got you here today from Edinburgh University Farm Animal Practice, and we're talking about alternative castration in lambs. So one of the things that I suppose farmers need to ask themselves is, do we need to consider castrating at all? What would be the systems and circumstances where you would consider not castrating lambs?
So I guess what we need to think about with not castrating would be kind of when they reach sexual maturity, and obviously the risks associated with that. So it would be for your early lamb and flocks and your quicker maturing breeds that you could get away with it. So if you're getting your lambs away kind of July, August time, then yes, they should be fine to go away. You shouldn't be having that mixing population of sexually mature animals, so the risks are a lot lower. But for anything kind of that you're keeping past that sort of age, then 4 to 6 months is kind of what we think, you know, sexual maturity could happen around that sort of time. So the risks of just younger pregnancies, animals getting pregnant when you don't want them to be, are a lot higher at that point.
Yeah, and unless you can keep those male lambs separate, you're looking at housing them.
Exactly, which would be super impractical for a lot of people, and even the risks of forgetting or missing one male lamb, the risks of that could be quite high.
Yeah. And then what about tail docking? Obviously many farmers were used to tail docking, it's a conventional practice. And aesthetics, you know, farmers like to see the shorter tails. Is that something we should be routinely doing?
If we're talking about aesthetics, I guess that's up for debate, like whether we should be moving forward and away from that. In terms of a practical sense, I know a lot of talk is about, you know, dirty tails and keeping things clean and the risk of blowfly strike, but I think there could be an argument then of just more improved monitoring about tails and about keeping them clean, and whether, you know, monitoring them for scour and actually keeping on top of that a little bit more, and then the tails would be kept cleaner. But yeah, in terms of tail docking, I guess it's still going to be a preference thing, whether the market wants it as well and what abattoirs would say about it. But yeah, there could be an argument for it not needing to be the case anyway.
But I mean, good planning, speaking to your vet, developing a good health plan, and as you say, speaking to wherever you market your lambs to would be the first protocol.
Absolutely.
So assuming that farmers decide that they do want to castrate and tail dock, obviously we're here today demonstrating the two novel new methods. What other more traditional methods have farmers still got available to them?
So you've still got surgical castration, which is obviously vet related, but that obviously is quite invasive and not routinely done on a mass number practice. Then you could talk about Burdizzo castration, which again is a bloodless castration method, but it's considered kind of a bit more old school, but there are more people maybe leaning back in towards that, but it does require quite specific training to make sure it's done properly. And then you've got short scrotum castration as well, which is more routinely done in New Zealand, Australia. They use it quite a lot, kind of pushing the testicles back up into the inguinal canal. And in that sense, they're closer to the body heat, so they're going to be made infertile by doing that. Then you put the band on underneath the testicles to stop them falling back down again, and then the scrotum itself just falls off after a couple of weeks like it would do in a normal ring castration. There is the risk that if the testes aren't kind of up in the inguinal canal enough, they're not going to receive enough body heat to become infertile, so there is a slight risk of animals being fertile still with it, or semi-fertile, I guess you'd maybe describe them as, and being able to test for that would be really impractical. So I guess, yeah, again, running a mix of short scrotum castrated males with females, there could still be a risk of it, like pregnancies happening.
Some farmers have asked in the past about the impregnated bands that are anaesthetic around the bands. Can you tell us a little bit about those? Are they?
Yeah, so they've got lidocaine impregnated in them, so they would give, I guess, some topical anaesthetic to the area that they're put onto. But lidocaine isn't at the moment licensed in the UK. There's no maximum residue limit, so that's what they look for in terms of food producing animals to go through into slaughter, so we can't use them at this point in time. It might be something that does get sorted out and comes into play, but at the moment, yeah, they're not licensed.
That's not an option.
Yeah.
Perfect. So under the UK consultation, one of the proposals is that all lambs castrated and tail docked would need injected with an analgesic and an anaesthetic for both chronic and acute pain. Can you explain the difference between those two pains, the acute and the chronic, how long they last?
Yeah, so acute pain, you're talking kind of in the short term. So that's kind of as something happens, and it might last for sort of 1 up to 4 hours. We're not entirely sure, we couldn't put an exact figure on it, but the sort of up to the 4-hour mark would be your acute pain. After that, you could consider it chronic pain, and that could last potentially up to sort of 2 weeks, a month down the line, depending on obviously what's causing the pain and whether that is still there causing any level of discomfort. So for acute pain, you'd use an anaesthetic to get rid of that, to remove sensation in that acute pain window. And in this situation, we're talking about local anaesthetic, so in the area where the pain's been caused. So local anaesthetic just removes sensation, blocks the sort of messages up to the brain, so that can't be felt at all, but it does obviously wear off. And then when we're talking about the sort of chronic pain, we're talking about analgesia. So we're talking about pain relief that you could relate to it a bit like when we take a paracetamol or an ibuprofen. We've got products like Metacam, Loxicam on the market that are known as analgesias. They're non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So they work in exactly the same way as your ibuprofens and your paracetamols, but they sort of modify the pain response. So they just reduce how much pain the animal's feeling, and that's what we'd use for chronic pain. Unfortunately, with sheep, we don't have any licensed products in the UK in terms of analgesia. Metacam is licensed in places like Australia and Canada for sheep, but not in the UK at present. But we can use it under the cascade, under the veterinary cascade, because it's licensed in cattle for analgesic properties. And so there is a maximum residue limit there, so we can just apply standard withdrawal times to sheep to use it in these animals under the cascade.
What are the short and long-term impacts of the pain in lambs from castration?
So short-term changes, I guess, in that immediate post-castration or tail docking. So the pain would be there, it would be discomfort for the animal, it might have an impact on their behaviours, so their feeding behaviours, their play behaviours, all their normal behaviours that we need to provide them with or need to have them showing. Whereas your long-term pain is more likely to impact growth rates and have a reduction in growth rates.
So the proposals that are coming forward at the moment, that would be a positive move for the industry then to ensure that lambs are given an anaesthetic and an analgesic at point of castration, where we know there's pain.
Yeah, exactly.
The industry is obviously on a push to reduce antibiotic use. So just for clarification, the anaesthetics and analgesics that are proposed for use, they are not antibiotics, are they? So they are not going to combat any health issues in the general public?
No, absolutely not.
Hi, my name's Dougal. I'm from the team at Numnuts. Numnuts has been designed for lambs older than 7 days and up to 3 months of age, which is in line with the Scottish legislation. Numnuts is both a ring applicator but also injects a local anaesthetic, so it's a 2-in-1 tool. So we put the ring on the front of the tool there, that goes onto the testicles, and then straight after that you inject your local anaesthetic. You can buy your tools from our website or through your vet, but you must get your local anaesthetic from the vet. The tool itself has been designed to make the farmer's life really easy. So we've set the depth the needle goes into the lamb, the angle that it goes in. We use the ring to help get the needle into the right place as well. The dose is set, so you don't have to worry about the dose per weight of lamb. It's the same dose for castration and for tail docking. Changing over your bottles, so it's a 100ml bottle, you get 65 doses in a bottle. Changing over bottles really easy by the design of the tool. The needle goes to a set depth and at a set angle, and the dosage is set to 1.5ml, and that's the same dosage for testicles and for tails. So it's been designed for the farmer to be really efficient, not slow you down. Of course you are doing 2 jobs at once, but if you can imagine using a needle and syringe and trying to inject local anaesthetic without this tool, it's going to be a lot harder. Normally the lamb would be presented upside down like this, so with balls up and tail up. And this allows the tool, which is gravity fed, to make sure that we get all of the anaesthetic from the bottle. So you open your ring. When you open the ring, the tool's been designed so it's got an over-centering mechanism, so when you're fishing around for the testicles, you're not having to put full force on to hold the ring open. So So the ring goes over, you pull the sack through. And so the ring pulls everything together. You've got both testicles there, and the needle's all set up, ready to go. You just inject the local anaesthetic in, let go, and to release you simply just pull back, and that's the ring on. And the local anaesthetic's exactly where at the site of where the pain is going to happen. So for the tails we go over the top and down, and close over, and again that just puts the ring in a good position for the needle. You inject, and then to let go, just move back like that.
First of all, Dougal, how much does the gun cost and where can farmers buy it?
So the Numnuts tool is £410. It's just to get you started. So you get the gun and you get a number of spares to keep you going and possibly into the year after as well. And you get a tray of spare needles. You can buy it online at numnuts.co.uk, or you can buy it through your local vet when you're getting your anaesthetic as well.
Okay, and I presume if there is any parts of the gun that break, they're easy enough to replace?
Yeah, so it's been designed so it's modular, so you can just twist it all off. Any of the components, particularly the bits that are handling fluid for hygiene reasons, but also for breakages, you can just easily, you know, when you've got lambs waiting, people waiting, you can just replace it really quick.
Now, Dougal, I'm quite a clumsy person, and that's a long needle that's in that gun. How health and safety, could you inject yourself mistakenly with that gun? Could you? How simple would it be to have a slip up?
To say that you can never inject yourself would be silly, but it's been designed that it's a two-handed tool to use. The needle is retracted back, so whilst you're moving around trying to get the testicles through, it's very unlikely for you to be able to prick your fingers. And to inject, you actually have to move your hand away to actually move the anaesthetic, move the injector in and out.
Yeah. So you've given us a demonstration of the injection. Does that need to be in one specific spot, or if you're at a different angle, is within an area acceptable to give the lamb sufficient pain relief?
So what's great about the tool is that it uses the ring as the kind of datum. That's your fixed point of where the injection is going to happen. So you use the ring as the kind of consistency that you'll get to get the injection in the right place. And that's what's different about using not using Numnuts. If you're to use a needle and syringe, is you don't get the advantage of getting it exactly where the ring is.
Okay. And for hygiene, how often do you recommend that needles are changed between doses?
So the needles need changed every 2 bottles, so that's about 130 doses.
Okay. And is the bottle holder adaptable for different bottle sizes?
So it's designed for your standard 100ml bottle, and it fits the 2 available local anaesthetics in the UK.
Okay. So today we've obviously used the crate for the demonstration. In the absence of a crate, do you need 2 people on hand to use the tool to castrate lambs?
Yes, in an ideal situation you'd have someone restraining the lamb and the other person putting the ring on and administering the anaesthetic.
Okay. And finally, for any farmer that wants to buy the tool but feels they would maybe need a bit of assistance learning how to use it, is there support available from Numnuts for that? Yeah,
so there's a team of us available. We're based up in Aberdeenshire, we've got people in the borders, I'm on the west coast as well. So yeah, we're able to help, pick up the phone. We've got a resource on the website as well with lots of really useful videos and case studies to read as well.
Hi there, my name's Laurence Martin. I'm a tenant farmer in Fife, beef and sheep. And we're here today at one of the SRUC research farms talking about ClipFitter. ClipFitter is designed as a kind of castration, works very much like a Bedizzo with 2 parts of a clip into an applicator, severing the nerve and the blood supply straight away, causing little to no pain to the lambs at all. The clips come in 3 sizes depending on the age of lamb. The clips are designed from day of birth all the way up to the maximum of 12 weeks with the different materials the clips are used. The most popular, with about 250,000 of them sold this year, is the biodegradable clips, coming in a mini for the first sort of a week of birth, to a midi, which is slightly bigger, up to 4 weeks, and then the maxi, which takes them all the way up to the 8 weeks, and that comes in a plastic as well, which is legal in Scotland up to 12 weeks. So we're going to be here castrating some of these lambs and tailing them with the biodegradable. This is a new hybrid entry-level applicator, and they do come in a metal option as well. They seem pretty keen here today, so we're going to have a little go and talk you through the different ways to apply them. So with every pack, when you get your applicator, Brian has filled the pack with all of the different paraphernalia that you might need to help you get going and help with any challenges. We've got some nip safes here that can be used to slide onto the scrotum to keep the testicles elevated and away from the skin. Make sure you're not nipping anything that you're not meant to. There's a cracking lamb here that we've got, and it's held very nicely in one of the cradles that ClipFitter can provide as well. We've got 2 different sizes, so we've got the midi clip for these. These lambs are about 4 weeks old, so definitely fits into the realms of the clip. One of the things I get asked quite often when I'm talking to friends or farmers or at different shows is the clips look really big, and actually you can see in comparison to where the clip's going to go, the clip is of a good size. The clips come in 2 parts. You've got the female and the male part of the clip, and they fit into the applicator just like that to make sure that they're pushed all the way down. This is the double applicator, so it's kept open by yourself. What's really important is obviously just the same as when you're putting in a ring, you make sure that both the testicles are there. You go in like a pair of scissors, and you're making sure that you haven't got any teats or any additional skin. Obviously you do this a lot quicker when using it in the shed. And you're squeezing that together, you get a nice firm lock of those 2 together, release them, and that's the clip nicely across the scrotum. We haven't caught any skin. It's not going to rub the legs. And then we can do the exact same thing with the tail. So again, we open up the applicator, one side of the clip goes in, locks in nice and comfortably and reassuringly. They go together. Good practice is just to find between the cartilage of where it is that you want to apply the clip. And that goes in.
Okay, so Laurence, thanks for that demonstration.
No
The
problem.
question in farmers' minds will be, how much are the clips and the applicators?
That's a very good question. It's usually the first question I ask about anything. The mini clips are 30p a clip. The midi clips, a mid-size, is 40p, and the maxi, which is the largest one they do, is 45. And then the applicators are 50 for the sort of hybrid introduction, and I can contest they are very, very solid. And then it's 150 for the single applicator, which is the one that's just the single sort of plier action, and 175 for the double. They're all made in the UK, all the clips are made in the UK, so there's a high level of engineering in them, and they are, again, solid pieces of kit.
And those are the prices for the biodegradable clips, is that
Yes,
correct? Is
yeah.
there a difference in price for the non-biodegradable ones?
Yeah, if you wanted the solid plastic, they are 5p cheaper. Again, there's a lot involved in making the bio ones, so they are, that reflects in the price.
And what pack size do those come in?
They come in a 25, a 50, 1,000, or just a big bucket, depending on your size of flock. You could buy them, between a couple of you, or if you were going at it with a lot of lambs, you could buy a big bundle.
A big
problem.
bundle.
Yep.
Excellent. And thinking about the application, obviously you've demonstrated how you've done it, but how important is it to apply the clip across the way rather than up and down the way?
The biology of the clip and the way that it works actually means you can put the clip in any orientation. The reason that we try and emphasize that you use it across or at a 45-degree angle is the danger of catching that urethra, which we've only heard ever happen once, but obviously we want to avoid that happening ever again. Like I say, the biology means you can use it in any orientation, but it seems to be ergonomically and safer for you to do it across or at a 45-degree angle.
And have you ever had any farmers reporting any lesions from the clip rubbing in any area?
I've not heard of any, and I know Brian would contest the same. We've been up and down the country, and like I say, there's hundreds of thousands of clips sold, and it's probably the most common question: does it rub on the insides of the legs? I can personally say, covering up the brand, from my experience, absolutely not, and from anything that I've heard from any other farmer, it's certainly not a complaint. It's definitely a question, but it's not something I've heard of.
Okay. And as a farmer, you've previously used the rubber ring.
Yep.
How quick does the tail and the scrotum drop off using the clips compared to the rubber ring?
A lot quicker. Again, just because of the engineering and the biology of how they work, the tail falls off. Again, depending on the age of the lamb, the size of the tail, it can be 6 days, as quickly as 6 days, and a couple of weeks for the scrotum. You get a very nice clean wound, and you know, it's nice to see. You don't get any of those sort of ratty tails. You get a nice clean break.
Clean cut.
Yeah.
Is there a risk of or is there any instances where the clip has came apart? Is that something that you do need to check later on after application in case the clip has come apart or broken?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that has a join or has a mechanism to connect has the possibility of coming apart if it's not applied correctly, or there's, you know, you've got an extra bit of skin or a lot of wool involved in it. You know, exactly the same as a ring. You want a nice clean area to apply the clip, and you need to make sure that you've got only the tissue that you want in the clip, and the right size of clip is really important. If in doubt, go for a bigger clip. Okay. And you'll be absolutely fine.
So would you recommend that people check the lambs further down the line to ensure that the clips are still
No,
there?
I would say once you're confident you've applied the clip and you know that the connection is right, you can be very confident in the fact that it would stay on until it's done its job and it falls off with the tissue.
Okay.
Yeah.
We sometimes hear concerns from farmers about the clips, and we appreciate they're biodegradable, but how long do they take to break down in both a pasture and a silage scenario?
Probably the most common question I get, which is a very, very good question.
That's the second time you've said that.
Yeah. Well, I get a lot of questions. And other than the rubbing on the inside of the leg and how quickly do they break down, they are made of a biomaterial. It's not a plastic that breaks down, it's a plant basically, and as quick as if you were to chop up a tree in your field and you had the wood chip and the sawdust, it'd be about that quick. So it's environmentally varying. You know, it's the contact with the soil and the microbes in the soil that break down the clip. So if you get a quick contact with the soil, it'll break down very quickly. I know I'm one of them, and I know a lot of customers who turn lambs out onto silage fields. They obviously then fall off. I've never found a clip in my silage. If there ever has been, I've not seen it, and there's not been any adverse effect to the cows or the sheep. And it's a bit like the cows grazing a hedge or the sheep grazing a hedge. You know, they pick up bits of wood, and that's pretty much what this is made out of, is wood chip. Yep. So, you know, it'd be the same effect, and it's perfectly, you know, it's food grade, food safe. So
there's absolutely no concerns for a farmer being worried about it being in his pit?
I am a farmer foremost, and I chose to use the clips long before I knew Brian, and I had no concerns then. I've got no concerns now.
Okay, thank you. Because the clips are slightly different to the rings, if a farmer applies a clip and then discovers that both testicles are not on the right side of the clip,
yep, okay,
how easy is it to take off that clip and start again?
Very easy. Like I said earlier, in the pack that comes with your applicator, there's lots of paraphernalia and tools. There's tools to help make sure that you don't do that, which are these little nip safe, which holds the testicles above and stops them being able to trap through. But in the case that does happen, you do get some very fashionable little nip safes, and all you do is, what I'll do is I'll quickly put this together. So that's the clip on the scrotum that's together, and you get the little clips and you just break it like that, and that comes apart. Throw that away,
Try again.
Yep, and that'll be absolutely fine.
Excellent, thank you. So for any farmers that want to try ClipFitter, where can they purchase the clips from?
You can get them through the ClipFitter website, and you can get them through some vets and some trade stores. I would check your local store and see who's got them. There's lots of different options, lots of different clips, and there is an introductory box that you can get that has 100 clips and an applicator and some of this paraphernalia, and it's a great way to get going if you're unsure.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for coming along and doing a demo with us today.
Thank you, it's been great fun.
Now that you've seen the two alternative options in action, what are your next steps? Recognise that changes are coming and understand what they mean for you and your flock. Question if you need to castrate and tail dock lambs at all, even if it's a proportion of your flock. Review when you castrate, what age the lambs are, and consider and investigate the right procedure for your flock. Once chosen, be prepared. Consider what else you may need, such as additional medicines, an extra pair of hands, or a cradle. If you have any further questions, contact the Farm Advisory Service for more information.